Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So offer my respects to all my teachers, and we're going to continue on with our discussion of the book Mumuksupadi by Pili Lokacharya with a commentary by Manavala Mahamunigal. So far, we have done 100 sutras. We have discussed 100 sutras, and that has brought us up. That is in the Tira. We're still in the Tira Mantra Prakaranam, which is the first part of the book, which explains about the Tira Mantra, or also known as Astaxra Mantra, the 8-syllable Om Namo Narayanaya mantra. So we discussed the meaning of Omkara. We discussed the meaning of Namo. So Om and Namo we've discussed, and now we've started to discuss the word Narayana, and we'll also discuss the ending on Narayana, Aya. So in the last session, we were discussing how the word Narayana, the noun Narayana, is a compound which can be made up of Naraha or Naras and Ayana. And in Sanskrit, these compounds can be understood in different ways. And the way that we have there are two ways being suggested here. In the technical terms for them are Bahuvrihi Samas and a Tatpurusha Samas and a Bahuvrihi Samas. Samas means compound. So there's a determinative. There's a determinative compound and an attributive compound. So we got into the technical matters of that last time, but let's have a look at the book, and we'll just discuss the last 100th sutra just quickly, and then we'll carry on with 101. So the 100th Churna or Churnika or Sutra says that the way that we define the compound Narayana points to the two different ways that we define it as an attributive or deliberative compound indicates the Lord's supremacy, paratva, and his accessibility, his solabhya. So these are two of his ananta kalyana gunas, ananta kalyana gunas. So his ananta, infinite, kalyana, auspicious, gunas or qualities. So supremacy and accessibility. And in terms of Western philosophy, usually Western philosophers speak about these two aspects of God as transcendence and immanence. So there are some religions which are very deistic. They believe that God is transcendental. He's there. He's out there, completely detached from the material world. He may have set the ball rolling and created everything, but he doesn't have much to do with it now. Everything just goes on automatically, through different processes like evolution or whatever, creation and destruction, and things just go on. So that those types of religions are called deistic religion. Deistic religions, like perhaps like Judaism, for instance, to a certain extent, Christianity and Islam. But there are other, there are calls in some of these religions for explanations of how God is immanent, how God, for instance, in the Old Testament, they talk about how God appeared before Moses as a burning bush. He appeared, as a cloud, or as he appeared as a mountain, as a booming voice or something like that. Sometimes we hear these things of how God becomes immanent. And of course, in Hinduism and in Vaishnavism specifically, we have the idea of Lord Vishnu's avatars, how he descends, and by his descent, and also by him being situated within everybody's heart and within every atom, he's also being very close to us, and therefore he shows his solabhya. So these two are major factors. They're major qualities of the Lord, Paratva and Salabhya, supremacy and accessibility. And so the first understanding of the word Narayana gives us these. Of course, we also discussed about Vyapaka, about how he's all pervasive. But remember, he's all pervasive from the outside, which we could say is transcendence or supremacy, and he's also all pervasive from the inside, from within every atom and from within our heart, and within and coming down to us in a form of avatars, etc. So that shows Saulabhya or accessibility. So okay, so now from these two phrases, the support of Naras and the one who has Naras as his support, the meaning that results is his supremacy, Paratva, in being the support, Adhara, support in Sanskrit is Adhara, for all things other than himself, and his accessibility, Saulabhya, in which the very one who is their support in this way enters into all sentient and insentient beings and resides there. Antarabahis Chiyat Sarvam, Antarabahis Chiyat Sarvam, it's stated in Purusha Sukta. He presents the outcome of these two compounds. It's not really two compounds. There's one compound, but it's defined in two different ways. So that to mean supremacy and to mean accessibility, right? He meaning Pilalokacharya, presents these two meanings of the compounds in yet another way. So now we're going to look at our new sutra, 101. So as he says here, or, so we talked about Paratva, supremacy, and Saulabhya, accessibility, or another meaning would be the Lord's status as the inner controller, Antaryami, the supersoul, Paramatman, right, means upaya, and the goal, upaya. So as the inner controller, he's the inner controller, he's the means, and he's the goal, which is very much like Tattvatraya, Tattvahita and Purushartha, right? The Tattva, he is the inner controller of everything. He is the means to liberation, right? Upaya, right? So Tattvahita, the Hita is the means. And Purushartha, he's the goal. The goal is eternal service to him in Vaikuntha. So he is the goal also, Upaya. Fire and Upaya. What results from the two compounds, Bahuvrihi and Tatpurusha, what resolves from the two compounds, or the two meanings of the compounds, is as follows, may be interpreted as follows. His status as the inner controller, Antaryami, that is, as the controller situated in the inner soul of all sentient and insentient beings, as stated in the Antaryami Brahmana. So the word Antaryami means Paramatma, or super soul. And there's a section of the Veda called Antaryami Brahmana, where it's discussed. So this particular section, according to the footnote, is Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 7:1-23, which is the Antaryami Brahmana. So first of all, that is Antaryami. Two, his status as the means and the goal, which are shown in the instrumental and passive formation of the word ayana, right? Instrumental and passive formation of the word ayana, where the root is either I, to go, or ay, to go, right? So in either case, we look at the word ayana and we break it down to a root. Remember, I was saying that in Sanskrit, there are like 2,200 roots, main roots, and you can break down all the different words in Sanskrit, all the nouns and everything down to the verbal roots. In fact, Panini has written a list of these roots, which he calls dhatu pata, because a verbal root is called a dhatu. whereas a noun is called a shabda. So dhatu is a verbal root, and from these verbal roots, by adding different things, you get different words. So here he's saying that that ayana can either be understood as coming from this I, letter I to go, or there are two verbal roots or dhatus that it might come from. But in either case, they both mean to go. So that is, in the instrumental meaning of going, he is the one who causes the soul to go to the ultimate goal, or moksha. So he's the upaya, right? So if we think of these roots as being being made into ayana in an instrumental way, it means that instrumental means by, with, or by or with. So by him, right? Going by. So going, he is one who causes the soul to go to the ultimate goal. So it's by him. So by him means he's the means. In the passive meaning, he is the one to whom the soul goes. Right? It's by him that the soul goes to moksha, but the soul goes to him in a passive sense, right? The soul goes in a passive sense, right? He is the goal. He is also the goal, the upeya. So when interpreting the bahuvrihi, right, it is appropriate to the context of to take the word nara, the first word in the compound, as referring to things other than the Lord's qualities. Similarly, in interpreting the Tat Purusha, when he takes the word ayana to mean the upaya, the means, and the upeya, the goal, the word nara must be taken as referring to sentient beings and not insentient. So there's two ways that we can take this this word, but in each case, the word nara refers to something other than the Lord's qualities, the Lord himself. If we take it in a bahuvrihi sense, it's the Lord himself. If we take it in a Tat Purusha sense, then it means the qualities. It means the sentient beings, which are the attributes of the Lord. Everything is the attributes of the Lord. You must be taken as referring to the sentient beings and not insentient. Okay, so the sentient and insentient, what we call chit and achit, right? This material world is insentient, but the jivas, the jivatmans, the individual souls are sentient. Naras, the word naraha, are interpreted to be the collection of all persons. And I think we discussed all the different collections of souls. There are different groups of souls. There's the nityas, there's the muktas, there's the buddhas. Then there's also all these other aspects of insentience as well. Like there's many collections, right? And all these collections together, it was said that equal the word naras. But here he's specifically talking about the collections of the souls. So there are three groups of those: the nityas, the buddhas, and the muktas. Okay. So naras is interpreted to be a collection of all persons. Narayana is known by them as their way and support. Their way, their upeya, their means, and their support, their adara, who supports them. Right? Without him, we can't live our lives, and we're not supported. He is the support of everything. He's the underlying basis or grounding principle of the souls. And the footnote here, 170, says attributed to the Padmottara Purana, 254, verse 52, chapter 254, verse 52. Now, Padmottara Purana, I'm not sure whether that means Padma Purana, a part of Padma Purana, the Uttara part, the later part of the Padma Purana. But anyhow, Padmottara Purana. Continuing on, it is proclaimed by the wise that the collection of souls, right, the conglomerate of souls, right, is referred to by the word Nara. Here, Narayana is said because he is their support. He is their support, Adara, right, or Ayana support. 171. The Sanskrit quote here, which is being presented, has an unknown source, so we don't know where that's from. So then, continuing, since the Lord's status as the goal, prapya, okay, so there's prapya, prapya means the thing to be attained, right, the goal, as derived from the passive conjunction, is without limitation. The Lord must be taken as qualified by all modes. So he's qualified by all other modes, or we can say attributes. Furthermore, attaining a close relationship with the Lord, bandhu labha. Bandhu means a close relationship. Can mean friendship also. Labha is also the goal or prapya. Right. Therefore, the Lord exists in all kinds of relationships with the soul. Right. So he has all sorts of relationships with the soul. He reveals that this is stated in this word. So we can understand also from this that he has different relationships with the living beings. So before we move on, let's have a look and see how P.B. Anandacharya explains about this sutra. Again, the meaning of Sutra 101, the three qualities of the antaryamitva of when we say twa, it means ness. We add the word ness in the suffix ness in English. So it means antaryamitva, means the definition of the antaryami or the antaryaminess, right? What is the paramatman, right? What is the super soul? Antaryaminess, and upayatvam means about the goal, definition of the goal. So definition of the super soul, definition of the goal, and definition of the means. Upaya means means, and upayatvam and upayatvam, definition of the goal. So definition of these three things are also derived from the meanings using the two samasas, the two different types of compounds, right? Desiderative and attributive. Other than deriving the two qualities of paratva and solabhya, right? So remember we were talking about supremacy and accessibility. So that's understood. That's already understood from the compound Narayana by defining it in two different ways. And now we're going to explain that the three Tattvatrayas, the Lord himself as Antaryami, as the indwelling supporter of everything, as the means and as the goal, right, is also understood. It is said before that that the meanings of Narayana, using the two compounds, Tatpurush compound and Bahuri compound, two divine qualities of the Lord can be derived. That is, paratvam, supremacy, and solabhyam, accessibility. Here it is being said that other than these two qualities, right, the two ways of breaking up the or interpreting the compound Narayana, shows us the three qualities he has of being the super soul, being the support, adar of everything, being the means of everyone to reach moksha, and also being the goal. So he is all three. The fact that he resides within all eternal beings shows his quality of antaryamitva, antaryamitva, yeah, as being the super soul. And he's a super soul specifically in living beings. He's also within every atom, but here we're discussing his being the super soul. The ayana term can be derived out of karane vyutpati, or derived from the action, or karmani vyutpati, derived from being connected to the action. Through the former, he is seen as the upaya, or the means, and through the latter, he is seen as the upeya, or the goal. So getting back to text 102, the hymn, my father, etc., states that the Lord is related to the soul in all ways. So we just explained how the Lord is related to the soul in different ways. And now we're getting a quotation to back that up. And that quotation comes from Parantara Rahasya, which is by Perivachan Pillai. I'm sorry. That's coming from Periya Tirumoli, 116. And the quotation here is, my Lord, Father, all my kinsmen, my king, my life, the one who defeated and killed the demons with his arrow, the one who resides in Tanchai Ma Mani Coil, right, which is the temple, which is surrounded by lush gardens of fresh flowers and waterfalls. Upon worshipping him, O believers, I found the name Narayana to uplift our souls. So Tiramangai Alwar, the author of Periya Tirumoli, right, contemplating the meaning of the word Narayana, said, my Lord, Father, etc. Therefore, the Lord indeed exists in all types of relationships with these souls. This is stated in this word. So being related to the souls in such a manner, what does he do for us? Right? So we'll see that coming up. Let's have a look and see what P.B. Anangacharya says about Sutra number 102. So once again, Sutra number 102, the meaning is, the term Narayana says that he is the one and all relative. He's the one and all relative. As told by Tiramangai Alwar in his verse in Periya Tirumoli 116. The upayatvam, or the aspect of the Lord being the goal, upaya, which was shown from the karmani vyutpati, right? That previously shows that he stands for mother, father, and everything else, as told by the Alwar in his Pasuram, in his verse. Therefore, through the Narayana term, it is gathered that he is one and all relative. So he is not just one relative, but he can take the form of any relative. So he is related to, relative means one who is related to the soul. So he's related in all these different ways to the soul. This is why Tiramangai Alwar, when talking about the meaning of Narayana, says this verse. So back to the original text. So again, being related to the souls in such a manner, what does he do for us? What does he do for us? Okay, so the answer is, even when we are for others, he is for us. Even when we are, our purpose is for others, or our servitorship is for others, or even for ourselves, he is still for us, right? He's still for us. Even at times when we serve our relationship, even at times when we sever our relationship with him and become benefactors to others, he remains our benefactor. If he is so devoted to us, even when we are devoted to others, just what is it that he is doing, right? So it's very interesting here. Let's see what P.B. Anangacharya says about 103. So again, the meaning of text 103, even if we were to forget our relationship to him, and be attached to other jivatmas, he will only act with affection towards us. What is the advantage of his being the one and all relative to us? Even if we break our relationship with him and be devoted to other things, he waits for us to turn towards him and stays concerned with us, right? So this is also explained in the Upanishads. In the Upanishads, it says the body is like a tree, a green tree, and there are two green birds sitting in the tree. Those two green birds are the soul and the super soul, the Atman and the Paramatman. So the Atman or Jivatman is trying to enjoy the fruits of the trees, and these are his different karmas, right? His actions and reactions in this material world. And sometimes they're sweet, and sometimes they're sour fruits that he eats, right? And the other bird is simply watching him and taking care of him and being his support. And that is the super soul, and he is permitting him to do all this. But he has concern for this other bird. He has concern for the soul, the Lord. So let's see what, back to the other original text. If he is so devoted to us, even when we are devoted to others, then what is it that he's doing? Why is he being devoted to us even when we're not devoted to him? So text 104, like those who, feeding their proud children in a public shelter at night, he lies hiding within, keeping watch over our very existence. This analogy here, referred to very cryptically, will be familiar to the Sri Vaishnava audience of the time, for it's used by Perivachan Pillai in his commentary on Tira by Andal, verse 5, and by Vadakutiruvidi Pillai, Pillai Lokacharya's father, recorder of the Idu. The Idu is a commentary of 36,000 verses on Namalwas Tiruvaimoli, giving the secret and esoteric meanings. So, commenting on Tiruvaimoli 115. In both places, it's used to bring out how the Lord, as Antaryami or Supersoul, remains within our souls and in the other deities we worship for material needs, thereby looking out for our welfare, even when we ignore him or worship other gods, Anya Devatas. So, Manavala Muni goes on to say, there are some people who, out of false pride, won't directly come to their parents and get what they need to live, right? But these parents won't let them perish with hunger. Therefore, they feed them at night in a public shelter so that they won't find out that it is their parents who are giving them food. So I guess the idea is there are some children who are starving, but they're not with the parents, but the parents work out some way to provide food for the children in a sort of public setting where the children don't know exactly, they're not sure exactly where the food comes from, but at least they're not hungry. So the same thing here, the Lord arranges for the demigods and different living beings and everything to provide everything that we want in this world, right? Even if we don't know that he's the provider. In the same way, these Chaitanas who won't bow their head to the Lord remain apart, exercising their autonomy. So the Lord becomes their internal soul, hides himself within such that they don't perceive him, and goes on protecting their very existence. So whether you're a demon or an asura or a sura, a godly person or an ungodly person, right? The Lord is there as super soul and hidden there within the body, right next to the soul, supporting us in all ways, right? Protecting and supporting us. Thus, he has revealed that the word Narayana means the Lord who is the recipient of service. Who is the recipient of service. After this, he reveals that its case ending explains the prayer for service. The prayer for service. The case ending. So now we talked about the word Narayana. Now we're going to talk about the ending on the word Narayana, Aya. The Aya ending, which again is the dative case or the fourth case, which means 2 or 4 Sriman Narayana. 2 or 4, the Supreme Lord. So before we go on to that, let's just have a look at what P.B. Nagacharya says about text 104. So again, the meaning of text 104 is, just as parents follow their children, who angered with them have left the home, right, to the place where they are staying and feed them without their knowledge. So the children may leave the parent, right? In the case of the Bada Jivas, they don't bow their head to the Lord. They're full of I-ness and minus, full of ahankara and mamakara. And they completely feel like they're completely separate from the Lord, but the Lord is there as their support and their protector and their supplier of everything, even though they don't know it, right? It's just like these parents whose children have run away from home, but they're hungry, and somehow the parents find a secret way to feed the children. He too will stay out of sight, inside the Chaitana, inside the soul, the living being, as the Antaryami. So he's inside the living beings as the Antaryami, and will continue to protect them. When we ignore him and are devoted to others, why would he stay concerned with us? Take the case of some children as an example. Angered with their parents, they would leave their home and roam around without food. The parents would not let that go at that. They would follow their children around without their knowledge, and in the night times, hide in the mutts where they stay and provide food for them through others, through a secondary means. So, for instance, in this material world, the Lord provides everything for us, and he might provide it through other living beings or even other devatas that we might worship. And so we feel that it's coming from another place, but it's actually ultimately coming from the Supreme Lord as Antaryami. Similarly, he too would stay as Antaryami or super soul inside the Chaitanas that claim independence and run away from him and continue to protect them. Thus, the meaning of the term Narayana has been explained as him who is the receiver of service from the Chaitanas. So everybody's serving actually God, right? They don't know it. Directly or indirectly, they're serving God, and he is serving them, right? He is their support, and he is their protector, and he is their provider. So now we take up the meaning of the last term in the Astaxra Mantra, the Aya, which is the case ending, dative case ending, coming on the end of the word Narayana. So Narayana plus Aya becomes Narayanaya. This Aya makes the request to do all services, right? It means to him or for him, right? So as stated in the hymn, quote, Anantashesha becomes an umbrella when he moves about. So this is a hymn from the Nalaya Divya Prabandha, Mudal Tira Vandari. Mudal Tira Vandari means the first Tira Vandari, which is by Pogayalwar. Yeah, the first Tira Vandari. For the Lord, Anantashesha becomes an umbrella when he moves about, becomes a throne when he sits, becomes sandals when he stands, becomes his couch when he goes to the deep ocean, right? So lying in the milky ocean. Becomes a lamp when with the jewels of his hood. Anantashesha has jewels on his hoods as a 5 or 7-headed serpent, and they provide light like a lamp. And a garment of soft silk and a bed, right? So these are all the things that Ananta, or the Lord's servants, become. This fourth case ending, right? Adi Shesha, Ananta, another name for Ananta Shesha, is Adi Shesha, the original servant. Ananta Shesha means unlimited servant. So he's unlimited servant because he can become unlimited forms to serve the Lord. This fourth case ending, Aya, makes the request to do all kinds of service, like the blessed Ananta Alwan. So sometimes we call him Adi Shesha, sometimes we call him Ananta Shesha. He's also called Ananta Alwan in Tamil. Alwan means a respectable person. So Ananta Shesha, Vishnu's serpent, is stated in this hymn. Ananta Shesha becomes an umbrella when he moves about. Some people say, but since the namas, or the word namo, or states that the soul's extreme dependence, adyanta paratantriya, right? Extreme dependence, which negates the right, prapti, to desire anything for oneself, desiring and requesting the service itself is inappropriate, right? So some people say that if we look at the real true nature of the soul, the real true nature of the soul is extreme dependence, and therefore the soul should not desire or request this service, any particular service, for itself, and that in itself is inappropriate. We see this, for instance, in other forms of Vaishnavism, or sometimes we see that the particular Vaishnavas, they have this particular desire or request to serve the Lord in a particular way. So some people say that's inappropriate. So let's see what P.B. Anangacharya says about Sutra 105. Again, the Chaturthi Vibhakti, or the fourth case, or dative case ending, Aya, that is added to the term, the compound Narayana, expresses the entreaty to perform all kinds of services to him, right? So it means that we want to perform all kinds of services to him. And Pogai Alwar in the Mudal Tiravandadi 53 is given in full here by P.B. Anangacharya. It says, which shows all the services provided by Sri Adi Shesha to the Lord, this dative case, Aya, or fourth case, that is added to the term, the compound Narayana term, brings to light the desire to perform all kinds of service at his lotus feet. So let's see. Text 106. Text 106 says, if, right? So this was just discussing, if the namas, the word namo, right, negates any attachment for oneself in service, then is it fitting to pray for service? Right? So that's a good question, right? So if somebody says, you should have extreme dependency on the Lord, right? It said here, atyanta paratantriya. Paratantriya means subservience to the Lord. Atyanta means extreme dependence on the Lord. Paratantra means dependent. Swatantra means independent. Paratantra means dependent. So atyanta paratantra means extreme dependence on the Lord. We're totally dependent on him for everything. So the question then becomes, right, if the word namo gives us this meaning in Om Namo Narayanaya, which we've already discussed, right, then is it actually fitting to pray for service? If this be asked, he gives the answer. The prayer for service is not imposed from without. Prayer for service is not imposed from outside. Banteri. It results from the soul's essential nature, swarupa prayukta. As it is said, lying as your doorstep, may I look up and see your coral mouth. This is a quote from Perumal Tirumoli 4:9. So we're going to see this quotation. Lying as your doorstep, may I look up and see your coral mouth. Such a prayer for service, kainkarya pratana. Pratana means prayer. Kainkarya means service. So kainkarya pratana is a prayer for service. is stated with extreme dependence, atyanta paratantriya. Thus, the prayer for service is not something resulting from egoism in the form of self-enjoyment, right? So normally when we pray for something, we want to enjoy it ourselves. But here we see that prayer for service is not for our own enjoyment, but for the service of the Lord and his enjoyment. Thus, the prayer for service is not something resulting from egoism in the form of self-enjoyment, swabhoktri, tritva, rupa ahankar. Right? It's not the false ego, the form of self-enjoyment, right? Which would therefore be imposed from outside. Rather, it comes right from the soul's true nature or swarupa as a dependent shesha, right? So because we understand that we are the servant of the Lord, servant's got to serve. Servant's got to serve. If we're naturally a servant, servant's got to serve. So therefore, asking for service is not wrong. Which is such that the swarupa, right, or the actual essence of the soul, cannot support itself without glorifying the sheshi, by service in some way. Based on what is already stated, he explains how the prayer for service is made known in the fourth case ending. Right, so let's have a look and see what P.B. Acharya says about verses 106 and 107. So again, verses 106 and 107, the translations are, what is not said before that through the word namo, that one is not enslaved to oneself. So how is it that one desires to perform service? And this is told by Kulashekara Alwar. Kulashekara Alwar is the person who is the author of Paramal Tiramali 4.9. He desires to be the step in the temple leading to the darshan of the Lord, the step that's right before going into the deity room and seeing the Lord. The entreaty to perform service is appropriate to the nature of the soul. So in the earlier sutras, the meaning of the word namo or namas was shown as eternal servitude to his lotus feet. Such a servitude means that one should not seek anything for oneself. Yet, here it is said that it is a desire of the soul to perform service to him. Is this appropriate? Sri Pillai Lokacharya answers, yes. The desire here does not come out of seeking pleasure for oneself, but which comes out of ego or ahankara. The soul lives only through his pleasure, and the performance of service is for his pleasure, the Lord's pleasure. Therefore, it is in tune with the soul's nature. It is thus that Kulashekara Alwar has said this verse in Paramal Tiramali 4.9, where in addition to showing his servitude to the Lord, he also seeks to do service. In the phrase, in the verse where Kulashekara asks for service, he says, where it is that the Alwar seeks to perform service, where is it where the Alwar seeks to perform service? It is seen in the words in the sutra, in the verse from the Pashram. The answer to the question whether he is enjoying our service can be found by looking at his face, the smile on his face, on the Lord's face. This is why Alwars say, Pavarayavai, seeing the sweet smile on his divine coral lips. So in the Sankalpa we say, different Vaishnavas, they'll say, the Tengalai say, Bhagavad Agya, Bhagavad Pritya, Bhagavad Kainkarya Rupam, for the service of the Lord and on his order. And the Vadagalais say, Bhagavad Prityatam, for his pleasure. So we can't also negate the fact that we do the service for the pleasure of the Lord. This is therefore seen This is therefore taken to as seeking to be in his service. So the word ayya means seeking to be in his service. So now back to Sutra 108. In Sutra 108. So it's based on what he has already said. He explains how the prayer for service is made known in the fourth case ending, or the dative case ending. Therefore, this demonstrates the prayer, and another quotation here, may we render flawless service. And this is from Tira Mantra 331. Again by Namalwar. Since the prayer for service is not imposed from without, but a result of the soul's essential nature, this fourth case ending or dative case ending demonstrates the prayer, may we render flawless service, which comes from Tira Mantra 331, meaning we request to do all services such that there are no gaps or mistakes in our service. So it's the request for service is a request for all services. We see sometimes that certain Vaishnavas have a particular type of service that they want to offer to the Lord in a particular relationship with the Lord. But here it's said by the Alwar, we request to do all services, such as that there are no gaps or mistakes in our service. After this, he reveals the nature of those who have a desire for the object to be attained, such that they conduct this prayer for service incessantly. Right, so let's see what B.B. Anangacharya says about text 108. And again, the meaning of text 108 is, since the plea to perform service is appropriate to the nature of the soul, it shows the same prayer that Namalwar made in his Tira Mantra 331. It was shown before that the entreaty to do service at his lotus feet does not arise out of self-gratification, but is in tune with the nature of the soul, sheshatvam, or servitorship for his pleasure. Therefore, as Namalwar prayed in his Tira Mantra 331, this Chaturthi Vibhakti, or fourth case or dative case, explains the plea to perform every kind of service without missing even one. That is the plea of the soul. So let's go back. Text 109. Text 109. As it is said, will there be any sleep for the eyes of those who have such love that they can't stop gazing, filling their eyes with the Lord? And this is a quotation from Tira 97. There will be no sleep till they see him. If they see him, since the wise ones always see, and this is actually a quotation from the Rig Veda, Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Sada Pasyanti Surayaha. Pasyanti means they see, right? The wise ones, the Surayaha, the godly or the holy people, meaning the Nitya, the eternals in Sri Vaikuntham, right? Pasyanti, they see him. Pasyanti means they see. The wise ones always see. There will be no sleep. So because the wise ones, or the nityas, the muktas and the nityas who are serving Sriman Narayana in Sri Vaikuntham, they're always seeing him, according to the Rig Veda, right, which is Rig Veda 122.20, which is a very famous verse, Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam. Because they're always seeing him, that means they've always got their eyes open. And because they've always got their eyes open, that means they're always awake and they're always serving him, like that. So no sleeping in Vaikuntha, right? Always serving him. Will there be any sleep for the eyes of those who have such love that they can't stop gazing, filling their eyes with the eternal mal, Tirumal, or mal, which is a Tamil word for Lord Vishnu or Sriman Narayana, surrounded and worshipped by the hosts of unblinking ones? And this is a quote from Tiruviratam 97. Manavala Muni, following Perivachan Pillai's commentary, takes Ima Yorka, unblinking ones, to refer to Nityasuris, those eternal liberated souls in Sri Vaikuntha. So if we look at Tira of Nam Alwar with Perivachan Pillai's commentary, we can see this. This says, will there be sleep for the eyes of those who are established in such love that they can't stop till they have filled their eyes with the Lord, who is continually experienced by the host of eternally free souls, the Nityasuris. And here it's given Nityasurigal. Nityasurigal. Gal is just a Tamil plural ending. So it means that there are lots of them, just like in the Rig Veda it says, Surayaha. Surayaha is plural, and the verb is also, pasyanti is also plural. So the Nityasuris, they. So that's the question. The question is, this says will there be sleep for those eyes of those persons, right? As this states, there will be no sleep in the form of contracted consciousness. So this word sleep, so the idea of having your eyes wide open all the time is no sleep, but it's understood that this means that there's no contracted consciousness. Here in this material world, our consciousness is contracted. We're covered by ajnana or ignorance. So in a sense, here in this world, we're asleep. When we wake up and we are in Sri Vaikuntha, when we're eternally awake, then we'll serve him eternally, without sleep, without contracted consciousness. Right? Until they see the object, the Lord. Upon seeing him, as it is said, the wise ones always see, there will be no sleep, for they will be continually experiencing him. Continue experiencing him. He reveals that for yet another reason the soul won't get any sleep in Sri Vaikuntha, right? So let's look at P.B. Anangacharya's commentary on text 109. Again, the meaning of the sutra is, before seeing him, as told by Alwar, there is no sleep. After seeing him, as told by the Upanishads, it's not really the Upanishads, it's the Shruti, it's the Rig Veda Samhita actually, there is no sleep. Previously, the entreaty to perform service was explained. Here, the nature of those who make that prayer forever is explained. So, in the Pasuram, Tiravirutam, or Tiravirutam 97, it said, for those who seek his service, there is no sleep prior to seeing him. Right? If you seek his service, there's no sleep prior to seeing him. But then after you see him, the Upanishads say, or the Vedas say, Rig Veda says, after you see him, there's also no sleep. So there's no sleep searching for service for him, and there's no sleep after actually serving him, because we see him and we get fulfilled by seeing his smiling face, as Kulashekara Alwa said in the last quotation. After seeing him, as said in the Upanishads, Tad Vishno Paramam Param Pasyanti Sada Pasyanti Surayaha. The word Sada is important too. Sada means always. Sada Pasyanti Surayaha. The Surayaha, the holy people, are Pasyanti, seeing him always. They're always seeing him. The seeing experience is eternal, and therefore there is no sleep. That is, for those who have developed the taste to reach him, there is no sleep ever. Right, so going back to text 110. So he reveals that for yet another reason the soul won't get any sleep. Here's another reason why the soul, the surrendered soul, the mukta and the nitya in Sri Vaikuntha won't get any sleep. For one who, this is explaining about the person whose essence is to always ask for service, to always want to perform service, to always do service. That is the liberated person. Because that is the goal. What we're talking about here is that the ending ayah, the fourth case or dative case ending ayah, which means to or for him, which is added to the word, the compound Narayana. So Narayanaya. So what does that ayah mean? That ayah talks about the goal, talks about moksha, it talks about eternal service to the Lord in Sri Vaikuntha. So what is that eternal service? That is always asking him what we can do for him, how we can serve him. And always, so when we're seeking to do service for the Lord in Sri Vaikuntha, or even here in this material world, we go without sleep. And then once we're actually performing the service, we also go without sleep because we're always seeing him. Our eyes are always open. We don't have contracted consciousness. And we're also, like King Kulashekara says, enjoying his smiling face. Hopefully we do the service for him and he's pleased in Sri Vaikuntha. We know how to please him and we're pleasing him. And therefore he's smiling. And therefore we enjoy that smile. And we gain pleasure because we see the Lord has pleasure. And that is the pleasure of liberation. The pleasure of the liberation is seeing the Lord is having pleasure by our service to him, and therefore getting that pleasure ourselves. So for one who laments the lost time, saying many days have passed in vain, there is no sleep. Right? So also another reason why you wouldn't get sleep. So what are the two reasons given so far? The first reason is if you don't get any sleep when you're searching for service. The second reason is you've already found service and you're engaging in eternal service. And what's the third reason why you might not get any sleep? The reason you might not get any sleep is because you're in anxiety, you're meditating and you're thinking that you've wasted so much of your life. All this time that we've been, countless eons that we've been in this material world, serving ourselves or serving others, when we could have been serving the Lord. So we lament that lost time. So this verse is from Mudal Tiravandari, again by Pogai Alwar. He says, many days have passed in vain. Because of that also, his anxiety that he wasted his life, and therefore by not serving the Supreme Lord, and therefore he gets no sleep because he's in that anxiety. I have seen him on his couch and have worshipped the feet of that one with red eyes. He has a lotus-like eyes. The one who is the color of dense waves, right? Dense waves are a bluish color, and the lotus eyes are reddish tinged. I weep with grief, saying, many days have passed in vain. This states how one cries out in pain, saying, upon seeing and experiencing this object, the Lord, I realize that so much time has passed in vain, which should have been used for this kind of experience, right? After attaining the Lord's service, either here or in Sri Vaikuntha, right? We realize, because it's so pleasurable to him and also to us, we realize we wasted our time doing all these other things, trying to serve I and mine. For one who so laments his past days, there is no way for sleep to come in his remaining days, right? So if you really come to that realization that you wasted your life, you wasted eons of lives in this material world in samsara, serving other people and serving yourself, being self-serving, right? Then when you come to serve the Lord, then you realize you wasted that time. And therefore, how can you sleep after that? How can you waste even a blink of an eye after that? Furthermore, Pillai Lokacharya convinces us that those who have realized this Lord won't forget him. They won't forget him once we've realized him. So let's see what P.V. Lokacharya says in Sutra 110. So, again, the meaning of the sutra is, for one who worries about all the time wasted in the past without enjoying him, as per Pogai Alwar's Mudal Tiravandari 16, right? Manavala Mamuni's commentary quotes most of the verse, but rearranges the phrases, right? There is no further time left for sleep once you realize this, that you wasted your time by not serving the Lord. There is another reason for not having sleep. As told by Pogai Alwar in the Mudal Tiravandari 16, the soul that has developed the taste to reach him will cry and worry that he has wasted all this time without enjoying him, for such a person, from this time on, there is not even a moment left to sleep. So continue on with text 111. Text 111. So Pilakacharya convinces us that those who have realized the Lord won't forget him. So he says, they say, then I was not born. Then I was not born, right? Before I began to serve the Lord. Once I was truly born, I have not forgotten. Once I was truly born, I have not forgotten. So this is a quote from Tira Mantra 64. In order to reach me, the Lord was standing, sitting, and lying in the holy shrines. So we see these three poses of the deities in the temples. We see standing forms of Lord Srimanarayana, sitting forms, and we also see lying, like Periparamal. Nam Perimal, the Utsava Murti in Sri Rangam, is standing, and the Mula Murti, or the Mula Bearer in Sri Rangam, Periparamal, the big Lord Ranganatha, is lying down, right? And there are other places where he's sitting, where the Lord is sitting. Even in Sri Rangam, there's this Katalagiya Singha coil. There's a Narasimha temple, which is just close to Sri Rangam, part of the Sri Rangam complex, where the Lord is sitting with Lakshmi on his lap. And even within the temple complex, there are many, many, many different forms of the Lord. So normally we see them either standing, sitting, or lying postures. So in order to reach me, the Lord was standing, sitting, and lying in these holy shrines, right? All of these 108 Divyadeshams. At that time, I had not been born as one who has attained birth in the form of wisdom. So the idea of birth here means when I attained wisdom. What is that wisdom? That wisdom comes from the word namo, that we are meant to serve him, that we are not meant for ourselves or for others, but we are only meant as a servant to him. There's also, remember, exclusivity, which is given to us by the letter U in the Omkara. So by the letter U in the Omkara, by the Namo in Om Namo Narayanaya, we understand that we are meant to serve him. And also now, by the Aya, the fourth case dative ending to the word Narayana, Narayanaya, by all these parts of the Astaxra Mantra, we are meant to serve him. So once we come to that realization that we're meant to serve him, that is birth. That is considered to be like birth. Once that knowledge arose, I have never forgotten him. This is what they say. So since this is the state of those in whom knowledge of the superior excellence of the goal has arisen, the prayer of service will be continual. That is the idea, right? That is the idea. Once that knowledge arises, then the prayer for service will be continual, everlasting. After this, he reveals that this service, Kainkarya, is without restriction in time and place. So looking at text 111 by P.B. and Angacharya. Again, the meaning of the sutra is, having got the knowledge of the Lord, they stand without forgetting him, as per Tira Mantra Alwar's Pasaram, Tiru Chandavirutam 64. Also, as told by Tira Mantra Alwar in Tiru Chandavirutam 64, for those who are born into the knowledge of the Lord, there's no chance whatsoever of forgetting it. By this, and again, we have to look at the Brahma Sutras here, the last Brahma Sutra, no return, no return. So there is no return to this material world or to ignorance or to the contraction of consciousness. There's no return to that. We eternally will, once we gain Sri Vaikuntha, once we have that knowledge that we are meant to serve him only, right? Then that's our true nature. Right, then there will be no return. There will be no covering again of ignorance, as in this material world, or contraction of knowledge. By this thus far, it is shown that for those who have understood the divine qualities and the indescribable greatness of the Lord, the prayer to perform service will happen without any stop. So going back to text 112. After this, he reveals that the service or kainkaya is without restriction to time and place. The service of the Nityasuris, the service of the eternal, the liberated souls, right, is without restriction of time and place. So as it is said, being close to him at all time, without any break, may we render flawless service. And this is a quote from Tira Mantra by Namalwar 331 again. This service is being carried out in all places, at all times, and under all conditions. This service, which is the ultimate aim or Purushartha, remember we have Tattva, Hita, and Purushartha. These are the Tattva Triyas, the three principles on which Sri Vaishnavism is based, right? And all forms of Vaishnavism understand Tattva, Hita, and Purushartha, actually. Even in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, they just call them something different. They call them Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana, okay? So Tattva, Hita, and Purushartha, right? So this is the service, which is the ultimate aim, or the Purushartha, or goal, right? We can also call it the Upeya, right? In keeping with the soul's true nature, is described as being close to him for all time without any break. Meaning that we will be with him at all times without interruption and in all places, and not leaving under any circumstances. Thus, this says it is to be conducted in all places, at all times, and under all conditions. When a wife, a lot of times, remember we discuss about the Samashranam ceremony or the Panchasamskara ceremony as being like a marriage where the soul is like the wife who marries the husband, the Lord. When the wife wears the Mangalsutra to show, Mangalsutra is a wedding necklace that is put on the wife's neck to show that she's a married woman. We have the equivalent in the West of wedding ring, right? It shows that she belongs to none other than her husband. Okay, so this is socially in most civilizations and previous history and everything like that, it was considered the wife was like the property of the husband. So here it's giving that example, even if we don't believe that the wife is actually the property of the husband in our modern society, still we have to understand the analogy. The analogy is of the husband and the wife, and the position is like the analogy of the Lord and the soul, and the individual soul. So when a wife wears the Mangalsutra, it shows that she belongs to none other than the husband. In the same way, bearing the Tira Mantra, what is the Tira Mantra described as here? The Tira Mantra is like the Mangala Sutra. So when the Acharya in the Panchasamskara gives you the Tira Mantra, that is like the Mangala Sutra being placed around your neck as the bride at the wedding ceremony. And that shows that the wedding is complete. In the same way, bearing the Mangala Sutra shows that the Chaitana, or the living being, the Jivatma, right, belongs to none other than the Lord. To explain this idea, he describes this Tira Mantra as a kind of Mangal Sutra. Nice. So let's see what Vivekananda says about Sutra 112. So here's the meaning of the sutra again. This service will follow continuously at all places, at all times, and under all conditions, as prayed to by Alwar in his Namalwar in his Tiruvai Moli 331. Here, the fact that there are no limitations in place and time of to being in his service is shown. As per Namalwar's Tiruvai Moli 331, he says that he gained the performance of service to the Supreme Lord, to him, without break, at all places, at all times, and under all conditions. This service will follow continuously. So back to the main text. Okay. So now we're going to understand a little bit more about this idea, this analogy of the Tira Mantra being like a Mangal Sutra. Text 113, the Tira Mantra is like a Mangal Sutra, a wedding necklace. And the footnote says, according to the Hindu custom in South India, married women wear a special cord around their neck, the Mangal Sutra, to show their married status. Unlike the ordinary Mangal Sutra, which has 16 threads and 2 strands, the Tira Mantra, which has 8 holy syllables and 3 words, right, is like a Mangala Sutra of 8 threads and 3 strands. Okay, so he's saying that if we think more deeply about the idea or the analogy of the Tira Mantra being like a Mangala Sutra, we can think of it as a Mangala Sutra, which has 8 threads, those threads meaning the 8 syllables of the mantra, and 3 strands, which means the three words, Om, Namo, Narayana. So, which is indicated by describing it in this way. Right, so we'll go and see what P.B. Anangacharya says about this. Okay, so again, text 113. This Tira Mantra, made up of 8 strands or 8 aksharas or letters, syllables, right, and 3 strands or 3 parts, is like the holy thread used in the marriage, the Mangala Sutra. In this world, in some cultures, we see that a woman wears a holy thread in marriage, or Mangala Sutra, which signifies that she is wedded to someone and cannot belong to anyone else. Similarly, the faith in the Tira Mantra shows that the Chaitanya or Jivatman, the individual soul, belongs to the Lord and no one else. The faith in the Tira Mantra. We can't have faith in the mantra unless we understand the mantra. So it is not just the mantra, but the understanding of the mantra that we need. This is why Ramanuja went to Goshtipurna to get the understanding of the mantra. He received the mantra from Mahapurna or Perinambi, and he went to Goshtipurna or Tirukostio Nambi to get the meaning of the mantra. And no one else. It shows that the Chaitanya belongs to the Lord and no one else, which is also said, remember, by the U in Omkara, the Namo in Om Namo Narayana, and by the Aya, right? Therefore, the Tira Mantra is like the holy thread or Mangala Sutra used in a marriage. Unlike the worldly holy thread or Mangala Sutra, which is made up of 16 strands and 2 threads, the Tira Mantra is made up of 8 strands and 3 threads. The 8 divine aksharas or syllables are the 8 strands, and the 3 parts or 3 words are like the 3 threads. So, continuing on to 114 in the original text. So, what is indicated by describing it in this way? So let's go further into this description, this analogy of the Tira Mantra being like the Mangala Sutra. This means that the Lord will protect the soul as a husband, pati, or a husband. And this comes from the Sanskrit word pati, means husband, master, or lord, and connotes being a ruler and protector. Calling this Tira Mantra, a Mangala Sutra, states that the Lord will be the husband or master or lord or protector, pati, for the soul, embellished with it, and will protect him. Then he concludes by summarizing the meaning explained by this mantra. So now we're going to get a summary of the Astaxra Mantra. But before we do, let's have a look and see what P.B. Anangacharya says about text 114. Again, the meaning of text 114, as the Tira Mantra was compared to the holy thread that signifies a marriage, or the Mangala Sutra, it is shown that Sriman Narayana will act like the husband and watch over the souls. Again, the husband means he's the master, the lord, and the protector and ruler. He's the adara, he's the support, he's everything. Just like the husband should be in the family relationship, the marriage relationship. What is, P.B. Anangacharya says, what is gathered out of the statement that the Tira Mantra is like a holy thread that signifies marriage? That Sriman Narayana will be like the husband to the Chaitanas that are attached to the Tira Mantra, the meaning of the Tira Mantra, and will protect them. Right? So if you have that, that signifies that you are officially wedded to the Lord, and that he officially will protect you and support you with that. So now we're going to get a summary of the whole mantra, the Om Namo Narayana mantra. So for that, let's go back to the original text. Text number 115. Thus, the Tira Mantra, Om Namo Narayana, the Astaxra Mantra, has said, I belong to our Lord, Emberuman. Emberuman in Sanskrit, in Tamil, means the Supreme Lord, Sriman Narayana, Emberuman. Right? If we say Emberumanar, that means Ramanuja. But if we say Emberuman, that means the Supreme Lord, Sriman Narayana. I belong to our Lord, Emberuman, alone. May I not belong to myself at all. May I be allowed to do all services to Sriman Narayana, the Sheshi, or master of all. So that is the summary of the Tira Mantra. The word thus shows that he is summarizing all that has been revealed in detail heretofore. So, I belong to our Lord alone. Here he states, number one, the meaning of the first letter of the pranava, akara, A, the letter A, which has a hidden fourth case ending because it's considered a compound, almost considered a compound. The hidden fourth case ending by saying to our Lord. Two, the meaning of the middle letter U, right, which means exclusivity, right, by the particle of exclusion, right, alone, right. So up here when he says, I belong to our Lord Emperor Mana alone, right. And three, the meaning of the third letter, M, which signifies the Jivatman, right, by saying, and also, right, saying, I belong to. Thus, he has summarized the first word, right? So, I belong to our Lord Emperor alone. That summarizes Om. May I not belong to myself at all. Here he states the meaning of the syllable ma, right? Na maha, right? In Namo, which ends in the sixth case ending, right? Which is a genitive or possessive case, by saying belonging to myself. Maha is considered to be possessive again, right? It's considered to be genitive. So maha means of myself. Na maha means not of myself. I do not belong to even myself. What to speak of others. Two, the meaning of the syllable na by saying not at all belonging to myself, right? He says, may I not belong to myself at all. And three, that this is to be requested by the Chaitanya, by the individual living being, with the words, may I. May I. Thus he has summarized the meaning of the middle word, Namo. May I be allowed to do all services to Sriman Narayana, the Sheshi, the ruler and the master of all. So in this last sentence, in the summary of Tira Mantra, he says, here, to Narayana, who is the Sheshi of all, who is the actual master and controller and owner of all, right, states that the recipient of the service, as well as the fourth case ending, Narayanaya, right, showing the prayer for service, may I be allowed to do all services. May I be allowed to do all services is what is shown by Aya. To Sriman Narayana, which is shown by Narayana, states the method of praying for service. The word Narayanaya shows the method of praying for service. The Tira Mantra has said, means, back in the Sutra, he says, the Tira Mantra has said, right, means that these things have been stated. These things have been stated, right? So this is how he summarizes. He thus summarizes again what he has revealed elaborately in order for everyone to know and contemplate this meaning of Tira Mantra. So not only we have to know it, we have to receive it in the wedding ceremony, the Panchasamskara, the Samashrinam, when we surrender to the Supreme Lord and we become like his wife. And just like a Mangal Sutra, we're presented with that by the Acharya. And we get the meaning of the Tira Mantra also. Therefore, everyone should always meditate on this meaning. This meaning, once again, let's go over it once again, right? Thus, and every word in this sutra is very important. Thus is important. The Tira Mantra has said, I belong to our Lord, Sriman Narayana, or Emperor Manar, alone. May I not belong to myself at all. May I be allowed to do all services to Sriman Narayana, the Sheshi, the protector, the master, the owner of all. And that is the summary that he gives of this whole Tira Mantra Prakaranam, the whole first part of Mumuksupadi, in text or Sutra 115. Let's go back and see what P.B. Anangacharya says is the summary. Thus, through the Tira Mantra, it is said that I, who have servitude only to the Lord, should avoid being enslaved to myself. I should gain doing every kind of service for Sriman Narayana, who is the Swami. In South India, the ladies who are married, they call their husband Swami. In North India, they call him Pati, or they call him Prabhu. Prabhu means master. Swami in South India also means master, like that, Swami. And natural recipient of this service. So once again, thus through the Tira Mantra, it is said that I, who have servitude only to the Lord, should avoid being enslaved to myself, what to speak of others, right? I should gain doing every kind of service for Sriman Narayana, who is the Swami, who is my master, my owner, and my protector, and my support, Adara, and naturally, and natural recipient of this service. He is the natural recipient of my service. I am naturally a servant, and he is naturally my master, and my natural activity is to serve him. Servant has to serve. Thus, the meanings of the Tira Mantra are established. So now we have understood the meaning of the Tira Mantra. This is the end of the Tira Mantra Prakaranam. And if at this point, if there's any other questions, we can go on what we've covered today, or on the whole Tira Mantra Prakaranam. We can talk about it.
Very nice summary. I really like the thing about the Manga Sutra, and that it's considered like a Manga Sutra, and nice for us to meditate on that. And the point of remembering that is that the Lord gives us all protection, but then we also should meditate that the same way the Lord is like Pati, then we also have to be like a proper Patni. We have to also be like a very chaste to the Lord, you know. That's another way of meditating on it for his protection. Really nice way of putting there's so many meanings, but if one just simply meditates on that nice summary meaning that's given there of what Om Namo Narayana means is very nice. And the thing about being able to do all services, that's also an interesting point, that it seems that when you go to moksham, that somehow or the other you can have that ability to have all the unlimited services open to you. Usually you would think that, okay, the nityas have all of their different things, or like even
it's all tied up. It's all tied up, but it's all everything's being done for him already. So it's already being done. So as we say, like the Gaudiya Vaishnavas or other Vaishnavas, they might have this idea that they want to do a particular service, but that service is already being done by somebody else in Sri Vaikuntham. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Adi Shesha is doing everything for the Lord, right? As we saw in that one quote from the Divya Prabandham. He's already doing everything. Ananta, he's Ananta Shesha. He's an unlimited servant. So if the Lord has unlimited service, it's already, everything is being done for him already. So then what can we do? We can also do unlimited service. So we can also become, in a sense, Ananta Shesha. Right? And also, just your other point before, I wanted to say that we are very conversant nowadays with the relationships between people not being formalized. So we do have this situation where we have people who understand about property, but they for some reason or other, they haven't taken Samashranam, they haven't taken Panchasamskara, either they're not able to meet an Acharya and have it done, or they have some hesitancy or whatever like that. It is like people who are living together without wedlock. If they consider themselves as a servant of the Lord and use the Tira Mantra like that, but still the formal giving of the Tira Mantra or the formal taking of Samashrayanam is like the formal wedding ceremony. So even we can serve the Lord even before we take Panchasamskara. In the case of Gajendra, Vibhishana, and Draupadi, they never took Panchasamskara, but they did surrender to the Lord, and therefore they acted like they were the servant of the Lord. They were like the wife of the Lord, and he protected them, right? He protected all of them like that, even though they didn't have that official Tira Mantra, Mangal Sutram, and everything like that. Now, Tirumangai Alwar received the Tira Mantra from the Lord directly, and we can look at there were, but out of the other Alwars, we don't see any. Is there any? There's no story telling us about the different Alwars taking Samashrinam. But Tirumangai Alwar got the Astaxra Mantra from the Lord directly, but we don't find that with the others. So either formally or informally, it doesn't really matter. The real point is the mentality. When we come to that realization that we're the servant of the Lord and that he's the only one that we have to serve, and that we can serve him in unlimited ways, that is the knowledge which gives liberation. Jnanat mokshaha. From that knowledge, from that realization of the self, comes liberation. And again, liberation is the eternal service of the Lord in Sri Vaikuntha. So it's very important to understand the meaning, but you understand the reason why we see historically and traditionally this Mumuksupadi is only taught to people after Samashrinam. So it's like explaining the wifely duties to the new bride after the wedding ceremony. The mother-in-law, maybe the guru is just like the mother-in-law, and she explains to her new daughter-in-law how you should serve your husband. And so we have to have somebody to teach us these things. We have to have somebody to teach us these things. Right now, it's good because all these Rahasya Granthas, these secret esoteric doctrines, have been written down in books, and so we can go over those books. But really, the understanding is only going to come from the Lord within the heart. He's going to give us the understanding, the real understanding of that. So we can read all these things, and we can understand by the grace of the Lord. The externals can be gone through also. There's nothing wrong with the externals like that. The important thing though is the internals.
Yeah, which leads on to a question of your simplified online Samashrinam. In it, you give the instruction that one should do the Sharanagati before, and then go ahead with the externals of the Panchasamskara. I guess your thought process behind that is that the other thing, the externals come, those are externals. But when we asked Alwar the other day also, he said that the way Samashranam is done also, when they give you the brands and whatever is also preparing the body to then do Sharanagati. So it can also be looked upon that you do the Pancha Samskara first and then you do Sharanagati.
Yeah,
what do you think?
You can look at it like that. You can, just like we want to go and do puja or something like that. We get up and we take a bath first, but we can surrender to the Lord in any condition. We can surrender to the Lord in any condition. Mm-hmm. We don't see all these samskaras being performed by Vibhishana, by Draupadi, and by Gajendra. Gajendra was in the middle of a fight for his life. Vibhishana had just come from a long journey from Lanka. Draupadi was in the middle of her menstrual period. So the purification by tapta mudras, tapta pundra, by wearing udva pundra, the purification by tapta and pundra, and by taking the name of a servant, Keshava Ramanuja Dasa, right? By taking the name of a servant, these things all purify us. Right, and then the mantra itself purifies us by hearing the holy mantra like that, and then yaga, surrender unto the Lord and learning how to worship the Lord, comes last in that sequence. And the Pancharatric sequence is Tapa Pundra Tatonama Mantro Yagas to Panchabaha. That is the Pancharatric sequence. But the Sharanagati of Vibhishana, Draupadi, and Gajendra were not according to the Pancharatric system. They were not according to the Pancharatric, order. If you want to do things formally and you want to do it today and you want to do it according to the Pancharatric method, you can do it like that. But my point was, when I wrote that, the most important thing has to come first. If I say there are these different things that have to be done, and you say, well, before you do that, you have to do this. Before you do that, you have to do this. Before you do that, you have to do this. Before you have to have tapa, you have to have pundra, you have to have nama, you have to have the mantra, like that, before you can actually surrender. The surrender is the important thing, right? If I say that, then what am I saying? I'm saying there's a prerequisite to surrender. Am I not? And we know there is no prerequisite to surrender. There's no prerequisite. That's why I put it first. That's because it's the first and most important thing. And there may be people who don't want to do these other things. There may be people who accept that I am a servant of the Supreme Lord. He is supporting me, protecting me, and owning me. And I am a slave to him. I am a servant of him, and I'm going to serve him. And I want to serve him in unlimited ways. There may be people who actually believe that and who understand that. And yet they haven't done those other things. And if you do that one thing, then those other things are unnecessary. But if you do those other things, you still have to
do. And you don't do this one thing. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So what is most important is the thing which I put first. That's why I did it that way. I could have put it the other way around. I could have made a thing and put it the other way around. But I thought there are no prerequisites. There are no prerequisites. So there may be people. Yeah, go ahead.
Even the Vadakalai school, they also teach the Rahasyas after, definitely, right? But they have prerequisites before you do Sharanagati.
I mean, they all have prerequisites, you know. You have to approach an acharya and you have to ask him, and, you know, will you accept me? And he's going to ask a little bit about you. And there's this typical thing in the scriptures which talks about the guru tests the shishya. You know, you have to test the guru also. But it's not, after Ramanuja, people didn't engage in that so much because the path of property is open to everybody. So what's a guru looking for? If you go to an acharya and you ask him to perform samashranam, to do pancha samskara for you, what is that guru looking for? What's the qualification? What is the straw that would break the camel's back where he would say, no, I won't initiate you? There is nothing. There is nothing you could do or say. If you go to him and you say sincerely, I want to take pancha samskara or samashranam, what is it that he can say that says, no, you can't do it? Right? There is no prerequisite. So if you make prerequisite, then the guru has to look for the prerequisites. And the same thing with the shishya. The shishya is looking for a guru. What is the only prerequisite that the acharya has to do? The acharya has to be able to explain property to the person. He doesn't even have to give him the mantra. He doesn't even have to do the tapta and all these other things. The person who is telling the other person, he just has to convey property to him. And ultimately, who is it who conveys this idea of property or surrender to the person? The acharya doesn't do it himself. The Lord from within allows us to understand that. He himself allows us to understand property. The acharya is also help us to do that if the Lord doesn't want us to realize that. Because acharyas go out and they teach about property all the time. Does everybody they preach to become their disciples? No. Right? Only those persons who the Lord allows to understand that become his disciples, become his shishyas, approach him for property. So, you know, really with the realization came within Gajendra, within Draupadi, within Vibhishana. The realization came from within, from the Lord, that they have to surrender in a certain way. First of all, Draupadi thought she was surrendered, but she really wasn't totally surrendered. She was thinking of cooperative surrender, but she wasn't thinking of total surrender or causeless surrender. And therefore, the Lord then gave her second understanding of surrender, and then she surrendered correctly, like that. So the thing is, it's not going to happen without the grace of the Lord, without his giving us the knowledge from within. No matter how many gurus, no matter how many ceremonies you have, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is property, and that property comes from the Lord. The Lord himself establishes that property. The Lord is the means by which the property becomes successful, and the Lord is the goal by which that property becomes fruitful of serving him eternally. So That's why I put it first. Anyway, that's why I put it first. I put it first because it's the most important thing, and it's the only thing. Whereas, and then if people say, okay, but I want something more, okay, fine. If you want something more, you can do this. But if I say, okay, if I say you have to do this before you get that, and that thing is the most important thing, and to get that you have to do this first, then there becomes prerequisites. Okay, you need tapa, you need pundra, you need nama, you need the mantra. You need all these things first. Do you? Do you actually need all these things? Did Draupadi need all these things? Did Vibhishana need all these things? Did Gajendra need all these things? No. And they attained. So therefore I proved that you don't need these things. Now, it doesn't mean that we discard all those things, that we have to discard all these things. No, because the mantra is very important. The meaning of the mantra is also very important. So we should get the mantra, and we should practice the mantra, and we should understand the mantra by reading the Rahasya Granthas and hearing them, from people who have understood more about them than ourselves, like that. But even if we do all those things, unless the realization comes from the Lord himself, it's useless.
Yeah. Would you say Damodar Leela and that Yashoda Damodar Leela is a very good example also of Prapati or Sharanagati? Of course, I know other Vaishnavas, they take it in a different way.
Yes, so the Gaudiya Vaishnavas take it that they say Vishwanath Chakravarti gave a commentary on the Damodar Leela that there are two things by which there are two things stopping Mother Yasoda from tying Krishna 2 inches short. The rope is 2 inches short. So they say that 1 inch is the determination of the devotee to perform service and to do something, to step towards the Lord, and the other is the mercy of the Lord to step towards the devotee. And the thing is, when we say, even if we have this idea of the Vadagalais, that there has to be some works to show that we want that we deserve to be saved by the Lord, right? That there's not only faith is involved, but also works. So if we say that, our works are very insignificant compared to his. So saying there are 2 inches is completely wrong, because 2 inches would mean that we are providing 50% of the thing. We're not providing 50% at all. Even if you believe in cooperative grace, we are providing 1 millimeter, and he's providing the rest, unlimited miles, right, of mercy. So the thing is, and that is why this whole idea of Prapati, though, if we look at it, Bhakti Yoga involves people having this ego, a little bit of ego, tinged with ego. This cooperative grace idea is tinged with a little bit of ego, seeing that I can do something. I have to do that millimeter. For him to give me millions of miles, I have to do that little millimeter. But there is absolutely no prerequisite. According to the Tenacharya Sampradaya, absolutely no prerequisite. So therefore, you do not have to do that. You do not have to do that. And doing that, thinking that you have to do that, involves a tiny bit of ahankara, right? A tiny bit of ahankara. And that tinges bhakti yoga and tinges also the idea of cooperative grace, right? With that tiny bit of ahankara. We have to totally give up that and totally surrender to the Lord, as Draupadi did when she put her hands up. And that is unconditional surrender. That is the way it is. Gajendra also, he said he didn't surrender to the Lord thinking that he would be saved. He surrendered to the Lord thinking that he was going to die. So when he was on the about to die, he surrendered to the Lord and said, "Okay, let me pick a lotus flower and offer it." Vibhishana would have died also if he'd stayed with Ravana. Rama would have come and defeated all of them. And he would have, who knows what would have happened to him, right? But so on the verge of that, he goes to Rama and says, I surrender to you, like that. And Rama says, just do that one time, right? Just think like that one time. But what is that thought? That thought is that I am completely yours. I am like an insentient object, and I'm your property. And you can do whatever you like with me, like as Chaitanya said in Shikshastakam. But that thought momentarily has to come there. And as we discussed in this class, we talked a little bit about the fact that once that mentality comes, it should never go away. Now, maybe it does go away. Maybe if it's artificial, maybe we get the idea we get the idea. We go back to doing some. We have that example of Ajamila. He was apparently a Vaishnava before, and then he fell down and he did all sorts of things during his life. And then at the end of life, he didn't even remember the Lord at the end of life. He just remembered his son. So he went off the trail. He lost the plot, as they say, right? So but what does it say there? It's the Lord. We discussed this in this today's session. The Lord is always looking out for you. He's always looking out for you. He will always look out for you. Now, he'll look out for you in a general way because you're his creation and you're here in this material world. But he'll look out for you in a specific way once only if you've come to that realization only once only, momentarily, if you come to that realization that you're his property and his servant, right? Tavasmi. Then he takes special care. He takes that as an excuse to save you. He takes that as an excuse to save you.
And so the last thing you think alive you, I'll let you go, of that Yashoda Damodar Leela is that she had to become totally frustrated and
Right.
let go, and then
Right.
finally the Lord give his grace. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Excellent.
She couldn't understand, why can I not tie him up?
So we're going to
Okay,
start
so
Dvaya Mantra.
Right.
Next.
So we have finished the Tira Mantra Prakarana, the first part of Mumuksupadi, and now we move on to the Dvaya Prakarana, which talks about the Dvaya Mantra, Sriman Narayana Charno Sharam Papadye Shrimati Narayanaya Namaha, in our next session.
Yeah, look forward to that. Something very interesting to look forward to more. Jai Shriman Narayana. Namaskaram. Thank you so much.
Jai Shriman Narayana.